Good day, gentlemen. I'm a relationship coach, and while I've learned a lot from my own 7-year relationship and from my many mentors, I've also read hundreds of books on the topic. And today I want to share one specific concept from the book Attached with you, and I want to combine it with, first of all, my own experience, but also secondly, with 2 other concepts from 2 other books that I'm going to keep secret for now, to help you shift your view on attachment styles and to help you essentially create a more secure attachment style for yourself and to help you love your woman or your future woman in a way that will help her do the same. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Here's the quote. What is clear is that even if there is a correlation between attachment style in childhood and in adulthood, it is weak at best. This explains the main reason why most people who try to build a more secure attachment style, or as I like to say, heal their attachment wounds, actually fail because they only look at their childhood. They don't look at the experiences that happened afterwards. Most people only look at the tip of the iceberg, but they never go deeper. And so what happened essentially for you and for me as well, right? I was extremely anxious at the start of my relationship, thinking my girl is cheating on me, thinking she's going to break up with me, thinking she doesn't love me anymore. Even though none of that was true and there were no red flags, it was purely my own imagination. And why does that happen? Well, for me, and for you most likely as well, we've had repeated, let's just call them bad experiences. I don't want to say traumatic because that word is so overused these days and people just use that as a buzzword, but let's just say we had repeated bad experiences. And those experiences led to our attachment system, which is a part of our nervous system responsible for us attaching securely to other people, that got dysregulated because of those bad experiences. And so now this very attachment system reacts, let's say, inadequately to current situations because it finds threat and danger where really there is none. It reacts as if you were still stuck in the past, right? You react as if you were still stuck in the past, still in danger, still in those bad experiences, even though they're not really there anymore. But this does not only come from childhood, and this does not only come from your parents. And so, for example, for me, right, I said this earlier, I was very anxious at the start of my relationship, thinking that my girl was going to cheat on me or is cheating on me actively, whatever. And that never happened. That was a completely imagined, right? No red flags, nothing. There were no signs for her cheating on me, but I saw signs where there were none. That's how my attachment system worked at that time. And that didn't come from my parents. That came from me getting betrayed by friends as a teenager, as like a 15, 16-year-old, where I would ask my friends after school, like, hey, do you want to hang out tonight? Like, do you want to do something, whatever? And they were like, nah, dude, I have this fucking doctor's appointment or some bullshit, right? And then afterwards, I was at home alone on Snapchat, checking the Snapchat map, checking where all my friends were, and they were all at the same house of one of those friends having some house party or hanging out together, and I was invited, right? And that made me think, okay, this is going to happen again and again and again with all the people I meet. Now, what is very clear is that it was not my fault that I felt so anxious. It was not my fault that I got betrayed and that I ended up in this situation, neither for you. There's no point in condemning yourself for having a more insecure attachment style. Whether that's anxious or avoidant doesn't really matter. There's no point in condemning yourself for that. It is not your fault that you're here. But it is damn sure your responsibility to make sure that you're not here anymore in the future. And this is why you're watching this video, and that's fantastic, so let's keep going. I mentioned the term attachment wounds earlier, right? That's how I think about attachment styles these days. I don't think like attachment styles, it gives off the wrong vibe. Attachment wounds, that puts it into perspective. Okay, this is a wound, and meaning I can heal this. And in combination with this next quote that I'm going to give to you, this actually becomes very powerful to just think about it in this way, because then you see, not just in yourself, but also in other people, that these wounds first of all exist, and you also see how you can help those people. So this quote is from a book that you might not expect me to mention here, which is The Game by Neil Strauss, a book where he's a writer, right? And he essentially infiltrates this cult of pickup artists and becomes a pickup artist himself, becomes a pickup guru himself, and then writes this book. And so towards the end of this book, on page 496, he experiences the one thing that most pickup artists never want to experience, which is he falls in love. Quite heavy. And he gets quite attached to this girl. And he says about this girl, perhaps the reason she had been so reluctant to open up was that she was protecting something fragile inside. Like me, she was afraid to actually feel something for somebody else, to love, to be vulnerable, to give someone else control over her happiness and well-being. You were trying to protect yourself in the past for good reason, but now that pattern kept going, right? Maybe it's the same for me. I got bullied in school, so of course I protected myself. Or I got rejected by girls, so of course I protected my heart in that sense, right? Holy shit, by the way, like, look at this sunrise. I'm just gonna move out the way here. Bro, these sunrises just keep giving and giving. Insane. But yeah, you were trying to protect yourself from stuff in the past, and now that pattern just kept going, and now you're not able to actually open up and open your heart to a woman who would deserve to be opened to and who would not abuse your heart. Thing is, you might even rationally know that she won't play with your heart, that she will not abuse your heart, and yet you still react to her and treat her as if you were in danger. The problem with this is what Neil Strauss also experienced here, where both him and this girlfriend that he had at that time were afraid to open up. And so they kept each other in that cycle where they both couldn't trust each other, because you can't trust someone who doesn't open to you. And so if you're not able to open to your girl in that way, if you're not able to, open your heart towards her, then that actually keeps her stuck in a mode as well where she can't fully open to you, even though she might want to open to you, even though for her, naturally, if she was just by herself, she would open to you. But because you feel like you're in danger and because you react to her in that way, it's blocking her from actually loving you fully. I'll put this very simple. Your behavior is holding her back from opening her heart to you, which would in turn make you feel safe enough to open your heart to her, which would then again make her feel safer, and she would open her heart more to you. You get the point. You would get into an upward spiral. So what is actually keeping you, or what is actually, how the fuck do you even start to open your heart to someone, right? When you are anxious or avoidant, whatever it might be, when you have those attachment wounds. Well, firstly, most men never tackle this because they're fucking lazy. And I mean lazy. And that is what is keeping them stuck at a point where they can't fully connect with their woman, and where they can't fully love their woman, where their woman doesn't fully feel them. Now, the reason I say that this is laziness is very simple. Yes, inner work hurts. Yes, inner work is difficult. Yes, it can be painful, right? Healing those attachment wounds. But you do that purposefully. You choose that hardship. You choose that pain, which is much better than what most men do, which is they never tackle this. And then they have this unconscious pain that they can't really control, when, of course, from time to time, their attachment wounds hurt again and again and again every time they get hurt. And then they hurt their woman again and again and again, and they get more and more into this downward spiral without having any control over it. That's what happens when you're lazy in life. The guy who goes to the gym, yeah, sure, it hurts to go to the gym, 100%, but you'll build a better body, right? You're working against entropy. When the guy who just sits at home on the couch, yeah, sure, that's nice in that moment, but then later on he'll feel much more pain when he gets old, or even when he tries to do anything in life, right? He's gonna feel physical pain, emotional pain, all that stuff later on, much more than the guy who goes to the gym. This is really about delayed versus instant gratification. Marshmallow test. This is why us ambitious, driven men enjoy going to the gym or enjoy working on a business, because we do it, we choose to do it. Yes, it hurts, but we choose to do it. Yes, it's difficult, but we choose to do it instead of being forced to work out when you get to a point where you're just obese, or where you just have to work out because you're just not in shape and your body is hurting everywhere. That's a shit position to be in. Now, I want to read you 2 more sections from yet another book that will tie all of this together and that will help you actually tackle this. So, this book is called Intimate Communion. This is by David Deida. Maybe you've heard of him because he wrote The Way of the Superior Man, or maybe you've heard of him because I talk about him in these videos quite a bit, because he's a fucking genius. Anyway, this is on page 12 and page 13. So, he says here, you can actually learn to love. You can learn to open your heart even when circumstances are difficult, even when your relationship is painful, even when you feel hurt, you can practice opening your heart. You can practice love. This is the foundation of intimate communion. To practice opening your heart in every moment, including when you feel hurt. Rather than turn away or close down, you can practice loving. This practice of love extends far beyond conventional therapy. And so what he's talking about here is the fact that opening your heart equals love, right? Love is a verb, we know this. And so the action, like what do you do to give love to someone else, is you open your heart to them. That's what you do. You practice opening your heart, which is practicing love. Like doing, how do I say this? It's like a sport, you know? You practice, not in the sense of you practice playing tennis, like you go to practice or whatever, but you practice doing this. This is a practice. I don't know how to explain this. I'm German, by the way, so I'm not that good with English words, but I'm not talking about training. I'm talking about practicing something, right? Like being in the practice of something. I think you get the point. Anyway, let me move on to the second section here, where he says, and this is about the childhood stuff, right? Our childhood stuff seems endless once we begin to dig. A little digging is good, in order that we understand the roots of our search for love and its resulting frustration. But after a little digging, it is time to release the past and practice intimacy right now, in the present. Rather than concerning ourselves with the past cause of our present unhappiness, we can instead practice opening our hearts right now. And through this moment-to-moment practice of open-hearted intimacy, this practice of being love, the power of the past weakens. The power of the past weakens. That's the key. Of course, this is still not easy to do, and I'm gonna go a bit deeper on this to help you even more here. So, what makes it much easier to open your heart to someone is that if that person meets your needs, and also if you meet your own needs. If your needs are being met from you and from the person you want to open your heart towards. And I'm going to talk about this whole topic of quote-unquote neediness in a future video. I'm actually working on a video about that right now because it's very important. Probably the next video that I'm going to post here on the channel. So look out for that. And what you still need to understand here is, in my opinion, the most important lesson in this whole video, because I always give the most important, most insightful things here to the end of these videos, so only guys like you who are actually committed, who actually want this, only guys like you get these lessons. And so this is pretty much the biggest misconception that 99% of people have about attachment styles and about avoidant and anxious people, which is they believe that anxious and avoidant people are opposites, when really they're the same. Let me explain this. Both anxious and avoidant people, even on the extreme ends, especially on the extreme ends, they fear the exact same thing. They fear abandonment, they fear rejection, they fear loneliness, and they feel the exact same emotion if they would let themselves feel that emotion. I'll get to that in a second. It's this sense, this evolutionary sense of you're gonna die if you get rejected, if you get abandoned, if you feel lonely. Because, well, our ancestors did probably die when they were abandoned by their tribe, right? And so we still feel that today. We haven't evolved that much, right? The problem is, or not problem, but the catch is, anxious and avoidant people deal with this fear of abandonment very differently. As an example, my reaction to all the bad childhood experiences that I've had, all the bad experiences I've had with getting bullied, with getting betrayed by friends, all this stuff, right? Those led to me clinging on for dear life to my girl when we got into this relationship. And for someone else, similar experiences might lead to them keeping their distance, not clinging on, doing the exact opposite, just keeping their distance, avoiding getting attached to someone because they're afraid of getting too close and then getting hurt. To tie this all together, please understand that every single human wants the exact same thing in the end. Yet, we need to walk different paths to getting to that end goal, to being able to actually practice love, like David Data said. And we need to help our partners walk that path as they help us walk that path ourselves to get this upward spiral where both of you go closer and closer to being secure until you are finally fully secure. I know this was a lot and you might feel overwhelmed right now. That's okay. If, however, you want help with implementing this and much more to actually finally have this supportive, passionate, peaceful relationship you've always wanted, then I want to offer you my help. And I want to explain how you could literally be talking to me personally within a couple hours from now. Because I've already helped a bunch of driven yet self-reflected men who were stuck at a very similar point to you. I've helped these guys get to a point where they have created this truly supportive, deep, loving relationship that pushes them to be a better person, to be a better man, that helps them achieve their goals in life. And this relationship where their woman feels so radiant and gives them so much peace, and they feel so admired and so, quite frankly, loved, and quite frankly capable of also loving their woman. What I offered all of these men, and what I'm also going to offer to you right now, is a free alignment call with me. This is for free, but it's not a free coaching call. This is not a call where you can just ask me questions for 60 minutes because, let's be honest, that wouldn't really help you. That would give you maybe a small push, but it wouldn't really help you make a deep transformation. And that's what I'm here for, to help men make a deep, true transformation. And that's why this call is essentially there for us to figure out, for me to first of all learn about your situation, learn about where you're at, and figure out whether I can help you. And then if I can, for us to figure out whether it makes sense for us to work together in a bit of more of a long-term format, so that you can actually make this transformation and actually have that relationship that you've always wanted. And by the way, no strings attached. If we get on this call and we figure out in the end that this is just not a good fit for both of us or for one of us, that's completely okay, and we'll just go separate ways from there, or maybe connect again in the future, but that's completely okay by me. I just want to give you this opportunity to potentially take yourself to that next level with my help, to either build that relationship that you've always wanted from scratch, or to get your current relationship to that point. So if this sounds interesting to you, what you can do right now is you can click the link in the description. This link will take you to an application form. I need to do this because there's a lot of guys that want to work with me, and I need to kind of filter out before I get on calls with people, right? Because my time is quite limited these days. And so you fill out this application. This is 6 questions, takes 2 minutes. And once you've done that, you will, if your application looks good, you will be forwarded to a page where you can instantly schedule that alignment call with me right then and there. There's a calendar there. You just pick one of the times that work well for you. And this might mean that you could literally talk with me in a couple hours from now if my calendar is still free today. And if it's not, you will be able to find a spot sometime over the next few days. So if you want to stop procrastinating, if you actually want to take this serious and you want to improve yourself in this area of your life, then click this link right now, and maybe I'll talk to you very, very soon. Have a great day. Bye.